incidents, and now he needed to figure out just how much control he truly had over himself. He tried to focus and perform a flip in mid-air, executing it smoothly. After landing, he lay down thinking that he could probably make his body do a lot of things as long as they were within the realm of human possibility, not things like flying or transforming into another species. But the craziest part was that he could even replicate moves he had never physically practiced before just by visualizing them. Theoretically, if he imagined himself possessing the physical strength and mastery of any martial art, he could potentially acquire those fighting skills. All he needed to do was boost his physical abilities and he would become stronger. But there was one more thing he needed to test. The next day, he was in the cafeteria feeling like his legs were killing him. Before going to sleep the night before, he had ordered himself to go for a morning run, and his body had followed those orders even while he was unconscious. He was pleased to find that it worked. His body could follow his commands even when his brain was unconscious. He looked around and noticed that no one was paying attention to him. The only thing he heard was a group of students calling out the name Lu Xiu with excitement, eager to see her. She greeted them all. Zhang thought to himself that Lu must be the campus queen, and it was impressive that she was up so early. Suddenly, he heard a sound, followed by a dark aura that appeared nearby, and he wondered what it was. He spotted a creature but wasn't sure if the other students could see it. It definitely wasn't Lu. She called out to him, mentioning that he looked a bit pale. She looked like a monster to him and asked if he was feeling okay. He tried to calm himself down and then told her he was fine, just that he had a nightmare last night and hadn't slept well. He began to leave, mentioning that class was about to start. She pointed out the scent of fear and wondered if it was only her who noticed it. He left still wondering why there was a mutated beast at their school. Wasn't anyone else seeing it, or was he hallucinating? He decided to go tell a teacher, but as he entered the room, he saw another mutated beast killing someone. Zhang rushed out of there, heading for the terrace where he sat down, muttering to himself that something was wrong and nothing felt right. He wondered if this place was a living hell. Just then, the gem fell out of his pocket. He realized he had started seeing these strange things after consuming the contract gem. Whatever was happening, he decided he was going to snap out of it. He ate the gem again and immediately felt something different. A screen appeared, informing him that it was analyzing his progress. Once the analysis was complete, a playback began. He stood up, wondering if he had just awakened some kind of analytical ability. Then his status was scanned and his status panel was shown. As he absorbed the information, he wondered about the level system and what the level 1 effect activated meant. He learned about the absolute command, absolute obedience, and basic analysis abilities and wondered where they had come from. Did eating the second gem cause this? He then sat down in class thinking about how to break it all down. First, he realized that he had become his own summoner and summon. The only one in control of him was himself. No outside force could mess with his body or mind. With this new understanding, illusions no longer worked on him, which was why he could see through the mutated beast's disguises. They were all celestial foxes and high-level ones at that. Since he was only at level 1, he was no match for them. The cognitive distortion ability was a broken one, allowing a celestial fox to devour someone right in front of them while making everyone around think they were just watching a couple of students chatting. This was the reason no one could see them. If it was a mind control ability, and Jing's powers must also be mental. She was part of the psychic class, and maybe she could help him. After school, as he walked through the streets, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. They were outside the school too. He saw a couple walking by, and the woman was also a beast. He wondered how many of them there were. He finally reached the city guard headquarters and approached the reception desk. The lady behind the counter asked how she could assist him. He mentioned that he was there to meet someone named Jing, who should have enlisted on the same day. The receptionist agreed, and Zhang soon learned that she too was a celestial fox. Even high-level awakened individuals couldn't see through their illusions. As he was waiting, Jing appeared and asked what he was doing there. Zhang stood up and explained that he just wanted to make sure she was settling in well, as he was worried about her. She introduced him to her teammates and asked them to greet him. He responded that it was great to meet them. Jing then shared that she was determined to get stronger and hunt down the beast that killed her parents. She also mentioned that they were currently short on members and wondered if he'd be interested in joining, offering to put a good word for him with the city guard. Zhang declined, saying he wasn't cut out for that kind of work. His power felt useless, and he would be better off on a farm somewhere. As he turned to leave, Jing expressed her disappointment, calling it a shame. Zhang told her he was glad to see she was doing fine and promised not to bother her anymore. He thought to himself that he hoped to see her again. He walked through the city, wondering if they were really killing people. Wasn't the city guard supposed to be the strongest force in Pearl City? How could they have fallen? He remembered that Jing had only just joined that day. He paused, realizing that the Celestial Foxes hadn't only infiltrated the school, they had infiltrated the entire city. It seemed like everyone in Pearl City was under their control like livestock in some twisted game. He had been doing some digging using his analysis ability. First, most of the Celestial Foxes were high level, and even the city guard, with its many high level awakened, couldn't defeat these monsters. Second, the one who killed Lu Xiu was on an entirely different level. He felt that if he tried to analyze it, the creature would know exactly where he was. It was Apex level, maybe even King level. Any Celestial Fox capable of fighting above its weight class was likely being controlled by that creature. Third, unlike most mutated beasts, the Celestial Foxes were intelligent and masters of disguise. They could blend in seamlessly, but it was all an act. Fourth, the primary targets were usually powerful individuals or high-profile figures. The rest of the people were just livestock, kept around for later use. He knew that trying to save them would be suicide, but he couldn't just stand by and watch innocent people die. He wondered if he could become strong enough to make a difference. A week later, the scene shifted. Zhang woke up early, the clock reading 3:54 a.m. He guessed that it was the result of pushing his body to its limits, as sleep was no longer a necessity for him. He thought about how hard he had been training over the past few days, leveling up once. Aside from his physical training, he had been working on creating more gems and consuming them, hoping that he would awaken something new. Since awakening the analysis ability, all the gems Zhang had created had been colorless, and consuming them had no effect. However, he finally found a colorful gem. As he ate it, he remarked that it wasn't exactly appetizing, but he hoped it would work. Suddenly, his body began to shine, and he felt something strange. He checked his profile and discovered a new ability. Now he could truly investigate at night. As he read the description, he wondered if the contract gem had leveled up and if it was tied to his own level. If that were the case, every time he gained a new power, he would level up. And if that were real, he would become unstoppable. There was no time to waste, so he focused on his training. With the Nightwalker skill activated, he thought it was time to test his new ability. He kept jogging, noticing that his vision was improving even better than it was during the day. Then he found a ring on the ground. At first he failed to analyze it, but after a few tries, he succeeded. The playback initiated, and he saw an imposter disguised as Xiu, along with another man who Zhang assumed was the ring's owner. The playback revealed the man rushing towards Xiu and being killed easily with a single slash. Zhang was stunned. This was impossible. He knew Xiu was an orphan and would never have enemies like that. The only explanation, apart from his own involvement, was that there were others in Pearl City secretly fighting against the monsters. Zhang then saw a beast nearby who seemed to be wondering who was there. The beast muttered that the ring was gone and someone must have been there. It looked around, puzzled, thinking there were no traces of their presence. Whoever it was, they had to be at least a mid-level awakener. The beast then decided it needed to inform its highness immediately. Zhang watched from his hidden spot, realizing that it was all part of their game. The ring had been left there on purpose. Returning it now would be suspicious, so he decided to keep it for himself. At 5:36 a.m., he was back in his room, thinking that it was still dark, and the Nightwalker ability combined with the ring had made him totally invisible. He reflected that strength wasn't just about raw power. It was about the gear they could get their hands on. Suddenly, blue rays appeared and someone was calling his name, hiding in the shadows. He got up, wondering who it was. Then he heard footsteps. The person had arrived. At 5:40 a.m., Zhang lay in bed, trying to stay calm. 3 beasts had appeared in his room, and one of them used its power to attack him. The second beast placed its hand over Zhang's head, but he remained still. The monster noticed there was no flicker of emotion from him. If this useless trash had been the one who had fled, he would have jumped up and fought for his life. But Zhang wasn't reacting, and the beast also couldn't sense the ring. One of the creatures called out to the leader, urging him to kill Zhang. The leader jawed every morning, but not today. Something felt off. The first beast then declared that Zhang was not the one they sought. He was merely food with no value, and they shouldn't waste their energy on him. The others agreed. Afterward, they left, and Zhang slowly rose, covered in sweat. He sighed, relieved, and thought to himself that it had been close. He had nearly forgotten his morning job, but it was fortunate that he had forced himself to sleep in and avoid raising suspicion. He recalled hearing Jing's voice earlier and wondered if it had just been his imagination. He couldn't understand why he was feeling so sentimental. He needed to grow stronger, to adventure. For now, he resolved to live normally and not attracting any attention from the celestial foxes. As he made his way to the cafeteria with his food, he overheard a conversation between two girls. One asked the other if she had heard the news. Earlier that day, the city guard had discovered a body sliced in half near the academy. The body belonged to the notorious Black Death Star, the top assassin in Pearl City, the one who had injured the old city lord. It turned out that the city lord's injuries had never fully healed, and it was said that he died at a young age. Zhang couldn't help but think about the person who had been sliced in half. Could it have been the one in white? If she could take out such an assassin so easily, it meant Xiu's strength was even more terrifying than he had imagined. He wondered why they had displayed the blood at that time. It must have been a warning to anyone opposing the celestial foxes, signaling that they would undoubtedly increase their vigilance. Zhang realized that he needed to find some equipment to protect himself. He decided to check out the blacksmith shop after class. Finally, after the lesson ended, Zhang headed to the market. He saw a celestial fox standing at the door of a shop and thought, it seems like all the blacksmiths in the city are controlled by the celestial foxes. He tried to analyze the situation, but he initially failed. Eventually, after much concentration, he succeeded in his analysis, marking his 100th successful attempt. As a result, his analysis skill leveled up to intermediate. He wondered if with his improved skill he could now see the growth potential and profile of his opponents. The celestial fox invited him inside to have a look around, but Zhang declined and left. He thought to himself that he needed to find a shop that wasn't under the control of the celestial foxes. As he walked, he overheard someone talking about top-quality goods, offering to show a customer the product signs. The man was suggesting that if the old man bought it, he would give him the lowest price, even if it caused him some pain. The old man, amused, asked if the man was trying to get him to buy it for his daughter to eat. As he smoked his pipe, the old man blew a puff of smoke right into the shopkeeper's face. The man, furious, snapped at the old man, asking if he was deaf or something worse. Just then, Zhang entered, heading straight for the sword, and the man wondered who he was. Zhang used his analysis skill on the sword and gathered some information about it. The man, now enraged, demanded to know how Zhang dared to steal his belongings. As the man attempted to pull the sword, Zhang warned that it might break, and just as he predicted, it did. The man, livid, shouted at Zhang for ruining everything. He called on his followers, asking if they had any idea who he was. He introduced himself as a direct disciple of Master Mei from the Xingyi Martial Arts Academy. Without further warning, he charged at Zhang, declaring he'd teach him a lesson with a five-fold lightning assault. However, Zhang calmly slapped the man, sending him crashing to the ground. The man, trying to regain his composure, asked if Zhang was alright. Zhang responded coolly, noting that the man wasn't in good shape. He used his analysis skill on the man and learned his name, Liu Badguo. Liu, now humiliated, demanded Zhang leave, warning him to do so while he still could. Zhang wondered what was wrong with Liu. As Zhang turned to leave, Liu attempted a sneak attack, but Zhang quickly struck him again, sending him tumbling to the ground. Zhang mused, so Liu was planning a sneak attack. Was really playing dirty here? Just then, a girl appeared, irritated. She remarked that she'd stepped away for only 5 minutes, yet the place had turned into chaos. She glared at Liu, asking if he planned to leave on his own or she needed to show him the door. Frightened